And 6 p.m. here in Los Angeles. Welcome to Tech Talk Live. I'm Jack Armstrong. We've got lots of news today to talk about.
And I'm Sam Giacinto, and absolutely, we got to kick it off with a little bit of TikTok news, a little TikTok tick going on here.
Ticked. So yeah, it looks like Oracle is reportedly in the lead to save TikTok from this U.S. ban. So what does this mean?
You know, this was rumored back in the day, so I don't know if I'm happy about it, but I guess it just kind of confirms. I don't know if we talked about it specifically, but I have seen this before. But it looks like Oracle's kind of zooming in on a deal that it would basically serve as a vouch. You know, it would vouch for TikTok's security. Kind of, I guess they would guarantee that an updated US version of TikTok would not contain a backdoor. So I guess it almost sounds like a security audit, but perhaps Oracle,
which is great.
May, basically may be guaranteeing this in some way. I don't know, like, if they'll get an ownership stake.
So Project Texas began. Well, this also goes back to where data is stored, right? Because TikTok, they want to assure the U.S. that this is not a security threat, because it really comes down to, at the end of the day, the U.S. government saying, hey, TikTok is a security threat. You can't use it. User data, like the Chinese government is going to exploit all of the data, doesn't have a backdoor. And so, yeah, Oracle coming in sort of guarantees that this U.S. version of TikTok that's updated will be completely compliant with the U.S. and where the user data is stored. Am I getting everything correct? It's what it seems like with the news today.
Well, and you're right to bring in Project Texas. So essentially back in 2022, an initiative that basically began called Project Texas to have TikTok data stored for U.S. users on U.S. servers. However, it seems to be there's some internal staff meetings and presentations that have been leaked, suggesting that perhaps Chinese engineers still have access to all the data. So I guess this is kind of maybe round 2 of ensuring that there is no backdoor. And I guess it will use its Virginia and Singaporean-based servers for backups, and plans to pivot to Oracle Cloud in the U.S.
So hopefully this can kind of ease concerns, right? And hopefully that TikTok can continue in peace with no uncertainty, because if you're a creator or even a business trying to, advertise and reach users, you don't want to do something that, could, you want that certainty. Right. And so we want to know that TikTok is back and safe and here to stay, most importantly.
So it again, just sort of point of interest. Millions of dollars have been donated by the stakeholders of Oracle to the presidential campaign, and I guess it just seems to be working out quite nicely. Again, 2 independent events, probably not related.
Well,
probably not.
Hey, you never know, right?
Oracle Cloud,
in other news,
probably the best. Anyway, yeah, another.
That's true.
We got to talk about another giant of the tech industry, right?
Absolutely. So today, Nvidia has a big announcement with its Blackwell Ultra GB300 and Vera Rubin, which these are its next AI superchips. So we've got The Verge reporting today about Nvidia increasing their capacity, delivering unparalleled performance. Let's talk about what this means.
Well, no, absolutely. So, essentially, last year Nvidia mentioned that, hey, every year we're going to be producing new AI chips on a yearly cadence. But essentially, beside this new paradigm, we sort of have on the Nvidia roadmap, Blackwell is today Rubin is tomorrow, and Feynman is in 2028, essentially. So we're sort of going to be seeing, so in early 2026, we'll see, Rubin, which is more or less kind of a year off in the future. And then Feynman in mid 2027, if the PowerPoint graphics are to be trusted. So essentially the Blackwell Ultra is going to come out in the second half of 2025. More or less, 1.5 to 2x is kind of the claimed performance uplift compared to Blackwell. So
one thing I thought was interesting too, which is worth noting. So Nvidia now makes $2,300 in profit every second, and if you do the math, that means every day they're making $198.7 million a day. Isn't that crazy? Off the back of this AI revolution we're having here, that's an incredible number.
$2,300
in profit. $2,300 in profit a second. Okay, great. How many seconds in a minute, right? How many minutes in an hour, and how many hours in a day? It's not that hard. All right, now we're at $198 million a day. Okay, that's crazy. And this is in profit. So yeah, Nvidia is really killing it here with the AI industry. And
you're right.
Chips.
It's nuts. The gross margin, this
crazy.
Especially, is around 75%. So that means for every dollar, 75 cents of that dollar is profit. They're basically just printing money off of this the AI revolution, right? Who knew? Automating humanity is pretty profitable, right?
It's crazy. So will these new chips bring hopefully lower prices to companies? Like, this is obviously, it brings more performance, but I guess it's still to be seen how much exactly in terms of is this going to be a savings, not only for efficiency and power, but like at the end of the day, how does this? Obviously we need competition, right? We've got other companies, with performance, but these chips are sort of, for lack of a better way to say it, they seem like they're the gold standard, and everyone's Nvidia, the powerful Nvidia chips. And so if you think about it, at the end of the day, like, what is this? Do we think that the price is going to go down to companies that spend a lot of money on AI development and training models, and including OpenAI? Or do we believe that or not?
No, I'm laughing because hell no, they are going to ride this train. They're going to ride this train, this gravy train, till the wheels fall off. Seriously. Because honestly, this is something where there's no competition. We don't have, it's, AMD's kind of, bubbling up here and there, right? And who knows what Intel's doing these days. I think they have a new CEO, however. But Nvidia's kind of the name of the game here. So they can really choose what to charge and charge whatever they want. And they know it. That's why they're making money hand over fist. And I don't think they're going to give anybody a price break until they have to. Essentially, things are just going to be
until they
the same, if not more money. Because why? Why cheaper?
I know. Why would they? No, you bring up an excellent point. Exactly. So yeah, they've got to. We saw with DeepSeek. We saw what that did to to Nvidia's valuation. So it'll be interesting to see, when we get other competition and more efficient models. And obviously it's great to have this performance, but yeah, Nvidia is going to be charging a pretty penny to all the companies that use it. So very interesting indeed. So yeah, very cool with these new Blackwell chips and the Vera Rubin. So Superchips on the way. Quite incredible to see what's up. So in other news, let's take us to our next story, Sam.
Sure. So something we have to talk about in the tech space, maybe tangentially related, is Amazon. So Amazon from their marketplace, right? Perhaps you've noticed it's been getting a little bit more spammy recently with brands such as a random selection of characters just kind of jumbled together. So these sort of, knockoff products essentially are hazardous. We have flammable children's pajamas, faulty carbon monoxide detectors. And basically Amazon has been, more or less allegedly, not, they know what's going on, allegedly. Okay. I'm not trying to, catch a defamation lawsuit, because they are known for doing that too. But they allegedly know what is going on, according to the Consumer Protection Safety Commission, or Consumer Product Safety Commission, which has probably all been gutted now. But Amazon is suing them back, basically saying that the U.S. government stretched. So, and when I say this is, Amazon is suing you, the people. This is basically what is, so Amazon versus the United States of America. So your tax dollars is going, basically part of, unless they're going to get a default judgment, which I doubt, hopefully it wouldn't happen, but you never know these days. But Amazon is suing the U.S. people because they say we should really not be responsible for anybody who sells flammable children's pajamas, faulty carbon monoxide detectors, etc., because we don't manufacture, own, or sell them. We are yet a logistics provider, which is a little bit convenient. But if Amazon is classified as a distributor, they must carry out a recall for products that are defective and or hazardous. So that is kind of what's going on. I mean, we're fighting over the words of what a law is written as, and meanwhile, people are dying because, children die because their pajamas catch on fire, and basically everybody dies because carbon monoxide is very toxic and honestly undetectable. You will suffocate before you even know what's happening. You'll just pass out. So carbon monoxide, no joke. Don't run your engines indoors. That all that good stuff. But that's kind of what's going on there. I mean, what do you think about this, Jack?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, it seems like, yeah, they don't want to take any responsibility. I think it's pretty terrible that they don't do a better job vetting the quality of the products that are on their platform. And this doesn't even mean they need to physically assess everything through a process. I mean, look, if there's a listed product that's getting negative reviews, right? Maybe there's a reason you should take that product down, right? And so it doesn't seem like they even really want to do that because they know, hey, this product is a good price and people will buy it, even though they know based on the last 50 reviews, there's problems here. And so I think it's amazing to me that they don't even take the problem products and say, listen, we need to deal with this. We need to figure this out and take responsibility here. It's fine. You know what? If they don't want to revamp, their whole listing process and any product that's listed now has to go through this vetting process. Look, that's a lot of work for everybody. I mean, for sure, that would slow things down. I understand why they don't want to do that. But to not even say we're going to remove that product that clearly has this problem because they want to keep selling it so people die, and it's I think it's pretty crazy that, yeah, they haven't. And yeah, like you said, perfectly, they're wasting a lot resources of, on this lawsuit. I mean, really, it's costing the government money, and it's costing, I mean, even Amazon. I mean, come on, like, it's not free for anybody. Like, just take responsibility, stop going through this whole scheme, and just say, look, we're going to take responsibility. Look, we understand they're a logistics provider. That's very valid. I mean, it's very well known they're a shipping company. You can Amazon fulfillment by Amazon, right? If you want to sell products, they'll store them for you, they'll deliver them for you, and people pay quite a lot of fees. The sellers on Amazon pay quite large, pay a lot in fees. So it's not like this is cheap, right? But that's fine. Look, I think at the end of the day, I think if they don't want to revamp what's not working with their platform, I think that's pretty sad, I think. So hopefully things change, and yeah, Amazon can become a safer platform. I mean, look, I think, look, at the end of the day, too, this is just a reminder to consumers, know what you're buying and read reviews, because clearly Amazon, if you buy it on Amazon, they don't care. They're not going to stand behind the products that are listed on their platform. And I think it just goes to show, if Amazon's not going to stand behind a platform, excuse me, what's on their platform, it's really on the consumer as well to do your own due diligence. Look at reviews, watch product videos, read reviews. I love watching CNN, and CNN has a new thing they always talk about called Underscored. So again, there's lots of YouTubers that review products. There's publications like this is a new thing, Underscored from CNN, Wired. What's that other one? Tested, the channel on YouTube.
Oh, yeah.
There's so, whether it's tech products, whether it's even TikTok reviews. I mean, we were just talking about TikTok. Go do your research. Look at what products are out there and see what people say about them. And also be concerned about, sometimes reviews are fake. So don't, be skeptical a little bit as well. And the fact that, companies can also pay for promotions. I was, again, a little bit about this I thought was interesting. I have the Rabbit R1. We've talked about it when it launched. And actually, I will say the device has been getting a lot of upgrades. And hey, it's still, that little orange box that, is AI. Hey, $199, no subscription. Okay, cool. I mean, you can do the same stuff on your phone, but whatever. It's meant for other people. And a lot of tech reviewers gave it some bad press, right? Which is fine. But lately, if you go watching reviews on YouTube, you'll notice they've been paying a lot of creators to say very good things about it. And, I think that's also something. Look, I'm not saying it's a bad product. It's not a scam, and it works well. But, it's what Marquez Brownlee and other channels, for example, will say about it. Oh, this is terrible. Like, this is, why is this another device? Why is this whatever? But if you look at it, it's like, all right, who are you going to trust? The person that's bashing it completely, just a biased review potentially, right? I don't know, for the sake of him just thinking it's a bad product. But look, if you're a little older and you want, or you're disabled, or I don't know, it can be a good tool for certain people. It might not be for everybody, but I do think, again, they're clearly paying YouTubers lately to make good content about the Rabbit, because when it initially came out a year ago, it got a lot of bad press. And so I think, again, with any product, whether it's tech or something else, just be skeptical, because brands do sponsor a lot of creators as well. And so you might be watching that creator and they might have been paid to say potentially good things about it. So it's always important to be cautious with, and look and do your research, looking in places you can trust.
Well, and just to segue, not to harp on this too much, but a big kind of, you mentioned YouTuber reviews, and circling back to Amazon and defective products. I mean, Louis Rossmann did a huge expose on defective fuses being sold on Amazon. Now, fuses are a piece of electronic safety equipment designed to essentially break on purpose. And they didn't break when they were supposed to. And they also didn't break when they had 2x and 4x and 5x the amount of power being run through them. Which, if you had them in your car, could catch something on fire. This is, fuses are how, they're effective firefighting devices, because they're little teeny safety, widgets that essentially stop anything from consuming more power than it should. So that's kind of one thing. He reported that to Amazon and repeatedly, I don't think anything is ever done. I mean, this is a multi-year saga, because he's been kind of complaining about it for a while. But it's interesting to see something being reported, and then essentially, more or less ignored. I mean, you can still go and buy this product. So I don't know
And
what,
that's sad when nothing changes.
but it's
sad.
buyer beware on Amazon. I mean, it's not I mean, it's the Wild West. I mean, it really is buyer beware. So
Yeah. And do your research. Yeah, be cautious of everything. And I mean, there are, again, for this, there are some retailers you can trust, maybe more than others. So, maybe go to Best Buy, maybe go to REI, maybe
oh
go
yeah,
to
honestly,
Walmart better. I don't know. But yeah, go to other retailers that
I would say
are,
even Walmart would be ideally better. I mean, think about it. Amazon makes money when a sale is completed on its platform. Okay, it doesn't really care exactly what or who is selling it. It just wants the transaction. And honestly, that sort of desire has kind of overtaken their value of their brand. It seems like. Whereas I would say, yeah, like Walmart and etc., they have a vested interest in maintaining a brand. Perhaps that it seems like Amazon has forgone. I just think it's a little short-sighted. But I mean, and honestly, I've honestly just stepped up buying from, yeah, I mean, retailers that do their own quality control. Um, essentially, and do police their suppliers, and some retailers do. It kind of seems to be a uniquely Amazon phenomenon. I haven't really heard of any other retailer where it's like, and Walmart online has kind of taken the same approach to this and allowing third-party sellers on the platform to kind of the same effect, right? Um, you sort of have the degradation of quality. The lack of enforcement for any unsafe or just generally garbage product. So something to think about. Just buy it directly from a retailer. Don't buy it from a third party in general. You can still score a great deal. I mean, Walmart, the big box stores, I mean, you have Costco, Sam's Club, BJ's. I mean, they do their own sourcing, and there's some form of quality control because they want to keep you as a customer. That's their incentive. They make their profit off the membership fee, and how, think about how that aligns with your incentive, which is to get a good product. They want you to get a good product, so you keep paying them and you want a good product. So it's kind of a symbiotic relationship in that way. Whereas Amazon wants your transaction fee, and they don't really give a damn whether you get a good product or not, as long as you keep buying on Amazon. It's just sort of like, apparently, I mean, that's what it seems like. But I'd love for them to prove me wrong. Yeah, and
absolutely.
just take some account. Somebody has to take responsibility. It's
Absolutely.
or just stop.
No, absolutely.
Like, vote with your wallet. Like, you're the consumer.
And do what works. Yeah, no, absolutely.
Like, I haven't had Amazon Prime for, I guess, going on a year now, and honestly, can't say I've missed it. I mean, sorry, but it's just like,
well,
I don't.
Yeah. Well, hey, it's worth. Yeah, no, it's worth voting with your wallet. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, I think Amazon's very convenient, but hey, there's now Walmart Plus. There's now Target's got their skin in the game. You've got other retailers with 2-day shipping for free on most orders. And I think it's crazy when you really stop to think about it. I think it's yeah, it's quite impressive how e-commerce has just ballooned. And yeah, I think Amazon is more of that. It's more of a logistics and marketplace where kind of anything goes. And I don't think that's always a good thing. Even though things can get to your door quickly, you just need to know what you're buying. That's the most important thing. So, in other news, we have an interesting report about subscriptions, everyone's favorite thing these days, and app subscriptions specifically.
Yeah, no. So I guess, do you want to summarize it real quick?
Yeah, so it seems like we've got a report from Ars Technica, who surveyed 70,000 mobile apps to show why developers are begging for subscriptions. So I know nobody likes paying for subscriptions, but you'd be surprised that most apps fail to reach $1,000 a month in revenue within 2 years. So lots of apps seem to be struggling with their reach, with their scale, and with customers willing to pay for them. So obviously, a lot of apps have a free tier, and you pay to upgrade. And I think some apps, are well known and more consumers. Can you still hear me? My thing froze.
Yeah, I can still hear you.
So
it's showing
it seems
X on your bars here. I don't
know what's
know
going on here.
The informal bar.
Oh
connection.
no! But anyway, so Anyway, long story short, it just seems like most apps are not getting seeing subscriber growth. I mean, only 5% of apps make it to $10,000 a month in revenue over 2 years. So 95% of apps are not reaching $10,000, and it's hard to develop an app, So there's, a lot of apps are not. I mean, can a developer live on $1,000 a month? So I think if you want a good app, you want the developer to succeed, you want it to grow, and you want to show your support, maybe think again about paying for that subscription.
Well, it's so essentially, I guess most, if not, I mean, let's see. So more or less, I mean, a lot of apps sort of require, many days to reach a certain, a certain level of revenue. Essentially, according to Revenue Cat, which is sort of a kind of revenue subscription tool. And it's quite interesting. I mean, so gaming apps have kind of the most propensity to go viral. To reach, essentially $1,000, $2,500, $5,000, $10,000 a month in revenue. So gaming and productivity are two of the kind of get rich quick, apps, I guess.
Well, if they're successful, which is not guaranteed.
If they're successful, I mean, most, like, I guess the middle quartile for a lot of apps kind of hovers. I mean, depending on the app, I mean, it's anywhere from like $5 to $20 a month, essentially, per category. So it's kind of it's definitely a, it's very much like it's hard. It's tough to really build an app that people are willing to pay for. And it's not quite the gold mine that people are thinking of. I mean, I just thought it was interesting simply because it's, kind of quantifying a lot of, there seems to be a lot of money flying around and, sort of, but between the state of subscription apps, it's kind of difficult to break into it, I guess. And honestly, in the modern economy, I think it's an attention deficiency problem. People have to pay attention to something for more than 30 minutes and then want to pay more than a few dollars for it. I mean, it's something that doesn't quite work with something that's thoughtfully designed, and that takes a long time. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have any thoughts. I mean, I know you're in the app space perhaps more. But
I mean, apps need revenue to grow and to develop. I mean, you're not going to get new features if they don't have subscribers. So I think I would just say if there's an app that you enjoy using, you might want to consider, paying for it if they have a subscription. So, pay for the apps you like, support the apps you like, whether, whatever it is, right? So I think it really just kind of comes down to, if an app can't generate enough revenue, it's probably going to fail after 2 years because it didn't get traction and it didn't have enough paying users to support it. And it does take money to develop, whether it's a small team or an individual or a big company. You're going to get more features and you're going to get further development and support in the future, the more revenue they can bring in. And so I know people don't like subscriptions. Hey, I'm there with you, right? It's another thing you got to think about. But again, a lot of tools bring you value. So if it brings you good value, don't be, against paying for it. That's kind of how I see it. Pay for what you enjoy.
No, that's a good point. I'm glad you brought that up. I mean, that's something I'm trying to kind of do more, just mindfully, using the internet, essentially, like if I use something and I find it useful, I've thrown a few bucks Wikipedia's way. The Internet Archive is another big one. Or like Nebula, where you have independent creators who create content.
I love that.
Or
Nebula, yeah, I have an account.
I guess Weta / PBS, a lot of great documentaries and content. I mean, so if someone creates quality content that you enjoy, not just the average, drivel of, blurry, just, thoughtful long form content, and you appreciate it. Yeah. Like I try and throw a few bucks their way, kind of pay into what makes the internet a better place, and maybe move away your business from perhaps like the McDonald's of the internet, Facebook or Twitter, or, like stuff that's high, it's high information calorie, but low information nutrition, maybe is a good way to put it, right? Like it's, these things are very high, they're high density in terms of like mental stimulation, but they're just low nutritional content. Right. So it's just kind of like, because they keep you stimulated without really, teaching you anything or providing anything for you. I don't know. I mean, what do you think about all that? I mean, I know Coggy is kind of another way. I've done that personally. I mean, not to bring it full circle to Coggy, but having a better search and
what do you mean?
Navigate through the internet
instead
of just consuming whatever Google forces down your throat for the first. Like the Google AI is just garbage. I mean, it's just like it just gives you wrong information. I hate when it isn't configured on a device, and I just have to I use it for a few searches, and I realize, wow, this is so bad. Like the AI generated content's still horrible. It doesn't find you what you need. I mean, it's just like it's so bad. And it's like I can't believe people still push through it. But it's like again, I save like minutes of my day every time I don't use Google, because I find what I need very quickly. As opposed to just having to click through 10 different links.
Yeah, I think Coggy saves you a lot of time. I think it's an excellent subscription. I do think if you have the resources and you don't like subscriptions, you can also, if the app is new, sometimes you can even get a lifetime deal, which, you're providing the company more runway. You're usually paying for years in advance. And so I actually did that. I did that with Nebula, actually. I think I paid $300 for life, and instead of $6 a month. I mean, so look again. You're giving up more money now, and yes, I mean, look, if everybody in the world did that, down the road, not going to work out. But if a company is early, you want to support them. And you also don't want to think about a subscription. Sometimes you can, reach out, or sometimes they have a one-time payment. It's usually 3 to 5 years of their annual plan you can expect to pay. But again, not every service does this, but it's a little trick if you can afford it, you know, 3 to 5 times the annual plan. And I will say, when you do this enough, then you start to have money, all the money you're saving, then you can obviously invest it into more software deals. So kind of it kind of runs circles personally,
No,
the more you do it.
that's a good part, or good point. Given, and then this is something really unique. I've loved talking with you about, but a lot of creators are open to, especially for smaller apps. Like if you reach out individually, like there's real people behind these things. Like reach out individually, see if they have a lifetime quote unquote deal. And chances are, hey, if they're available for the 3 years, after you pay for it, you'll break even. If not, you really support something that you believe in enough to want a lifetime value for. So, kind of rehumanize the internet. Like have these high quality interactions. Be like, hey, like I'd love to chip in for what you're doing. I love the concept. It's just like, and that they will totally appreciate. You know, they totally appreciate you reaching out and kind of giving them that vote of confidence. At least it seems like to me. So,
well, I think any company that says yes, they're early. I mean, I did this with My Swim Pro, I think during the pandemic. I reached out, I said, I love swimming, love your app, don't really want to pay $200 a year or whatever, $150, whatever the price was. Hey, it's worth that. It's worth $10 or $15 a month or $10, $100, $150 a year, whatever the pricing is. But to be honest, I was happy just saying, you know what, can I give you, or whatever. Anyway, they made a deal. It was reasonable. And again, I think between 3 to 5 years of the annual plan. And then you don't have to think about it again. And, it's 2025. I did that in 18 or 19, and probably 2019. And I mean, that's one example of one app. I emailed the founder, or emailed the founder responded. And during the pandemic, when people are scared and nervous, I helped support the company with more money up front when people were potentially canceling their subscriptions. And in exchange for that cash flow and extending their runway at the time, because they're still a relatively new app, I now have a deal where I don't have to pay a monthly fee. So works for both people, both parties, typically.
Yeah, no, I think
it's a little hack there.
And again, as you mentioned, like it just helps them out early in the process, and that's the hardest part when you're launching an app, right? It's that first, it's liftoff, right? So you're really giving, a boost to those who can, who need it, and if you're supporting them, it's a great thing.
And I think at the end of the day, like the last thing I'll say is like Netflix has been around for a long time. Imagine if Nebula is the next Netflix. I mean, $60 a year or $6 a month is a great deal to support independent creators on a new platform. Great content. I love watching on there. Lots of cool stuff. But again, kind of, $300 is 5 years of upfront costs. But if they're around for the next,
it is a lot.
Years, at the end of the day, I also just don't like thinking about it. So sometimes it's just easier to say, you know what, here, upfront, boom, just give me access, and here you go. And then they get a larger upfront cost, And so anyway, they're doing it because clearly they get enough out of it as well. But if they did that for everybody ever, and it was a cheap price, obviously that's not sustainable growth. But anyway, most subscriptions for apps are not making them more than $1,000 revenue. Support your favorite apps, subscribe. Kagi is a great subscription. Of course, Chat Playground, another one I can think of. There's a lot of good deals, a lot of
Yeah,
great,
no, especially in the AI space. I think I have to, let's see, I have this local chat app called Misty, MSTY, that I decided to throw a few bucks
Misty.
at.
How's that?
But it's kind of like LM Studio, but it's a little bit more. It's a lot more. I would say user friendly, and then also kind of allows you to have a wider variety of. You can have document collections in it, which I think is pretty cool. But yeah, we can talk about that a bit more next episode. But
Absolutely.
check it out and see. Does it work for you? Like, if not, give it a shot. Try it out.
Absolutely.
Worst case, it doesn't work out, and hey, like, you can always, it's just, you're just out $100, or so. It's just like, a night out is $100. That's the way I see it.
Yeah.
So it's like I have one less night
So,
out, and it's just, I just pregame at home or something.
well, you're supporting a livelihood. You're supporting a business, an app, a developer, a team. So always good. Well, anyway, always here with the tech news. Don't forget, visit us online. Our website is techtalklive.xyz. Sign up for our newsletter. We're back every Tuesday, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, with your tech news.
Heck yeah. Talk to you guys next week, and check out our website. Join